When and how did Loki usurp the title of Sorcerer Supreme from Doctor Strange? Loki has been one of the most powerful sorcerers and magic wielders in not just the MCU, but comics in general. We've known that even among Asgardians, he is one of the most talented magicians, and his tricks often elevate him to an Avengers-level threat. On Earth, however, humanity has a hierarchy for the most gifted sorcerers that the planet has to offer, and they have a head, to which they grant the title of Sorcerer Supreme. The Sorcerer Supreme is meant to indicate that a magic wielder has transcended the rest of whatever Earth has to offer, and is most fit to lead the forces of Kamar-Taj. Whomever holds the title has access to even the most ancient and dangerous spells left behind by generations of sorcerers behind them, and there are few who can challenge the might of the Sorcerer Supreme. After all, as the defender of this reality, the holder of this title is responsible for protecting Earth from both mystic and extra-dimensional threats. So then, how did Doctor Strange lose this title to Loki? And does this mean that Loki is a more powerful magician and magic wielder than even the Good Doctor? Well, today, my friends, let's examine the story on how Loki became the Sorcerer Supreme. In the mystic arts, the trio known as the Vishanti act as the patrons of sorcery in their reality, and these elder gods preside over the mystic system as we know it. Every few decades, they believe it is their duty to assess the current state of their followers, and this extends beyond just the sorcerers of Kamar-Taj, but magic wielders from across the realm. In order to continue evolving and ensuring the Earth is safe, they host a mystic tournament in order to test the skills of the Sorcerer Supreme, and if necessary, reassign the title should the Sorcerer Supreme that is current be unfit to serve as the leader of this realm's practitioners of the mystic art. At this point in time, Strange had already participated in 2 of these tournaments, and both times he defended his position as Sorcerer Supreme and all was well. But for the third, there seemed to be something else going on. Throughout the course of the third games, Strange defended his title yet again, and defeated everyone and everything that the Vishanti threw at him. His opponents all bested, and there seemed to be nothing standing between him and 3 straight victories in this test of champions. What was peculiar about this, however, was that not only was Loki not invited, but he was selected as the champion despite not even competing. The Vishanti agreed that Loki was a better fit for the title, even though Loki had nothing to do with the games, and his skills were never put to the test. Their reasoning was that they no longer wanted such a sacred and important title in the hands of a mere mortal, and they believed that such a responsibility should fall to a figure that is inherently stronger than a human, even a sorcerer. At this point, Loki was seeking to make amends for his past actions, and the Vishanti believed that his combined Asgardian heritage, in tandem with his incredible talent for the mystic arts, made him a prime candidate to inherit the role from Strange. Loki then ascended to the rank of Sorcerer Supreme, and took on the responsibilities of this position. In return, the Vishanti stripped Strange of his powers, and relegated him back to Earth to resume his human life. Doctor Strange was once again burdened with his severely damaged hands, which barred him from most medical professions that he could have pursued. In response, Strange actually became a veterinarian, and had next to no magical ability left to his name after the Vishanti cast him out. Loki, however, began to make some changes to the way that the Kamar-Taj was operating, but there were still some lingering questions about his appointment as Sorcerer Supreme, especially with Loki's dark past. Doctor Strange was even asked if morality played a role in the title of Sorcerer Supreme, and the question is posed as to whether or not Sorcerer Supreme was an amoral position. The position is described simply as a practitioner of the mystic or magic arts who possesses greater skill than all others. This includes control over ambient magical forces in any given realm or dimension, and nothing in this description necessarily dictates that it has to be a morally righteous position, and the ethics behind the Sorcerer Supreme. If the reigning Sorcerer Supreme can protect their realm as is decreed by the Vishanti, then it's possible that this is the only moral component that the Vishanti seem to ever care about. It's later revealed, though, that this was yet another trick set up by Loki in order to take the title of Sorcerer Supreme from Strange, who Loki deemed to be unworthy and unprepared for future threats that lie in wait. Loki is a god who spent hundreds of years fighting battles across the 9 realms, and in his mind, he had battled and defeated threats that Earth could only dream of. We know that Loki views mortals as lesser beings who cannot be trusted with their own future, and Loki believes that they need to be guided, even if that means guided by force. To him, humans are little more than cattle, and even the most powerful of them cannot be trusted with the power or duties of a god. And he believed that Strange, as powerful as he was still incompetent in comparison to his own might and intelligence. And Strange even agreed to this. On paper, he may even have a case given his illustrious career. Loki is one of the most powerful magicians in all of the 9 realms, including Asgard, which is famous for producing some of the most powerful magic wielders in the galaxy. And Loki is within the top 1% of this incredibly selective class. If Loki is more powerful than most other gods in terms of magic, then it makes sense that his arrogance would lead him to believe that he's better than any mortal, and especially more than any mortal could ever dream of being, let alone accomplish. This isn't to endorse Loki as being more powerful than Doctor Strange per se though. It is just to say and illustrate exactly why Doctor Strange even believed that he could be a good fit for the position. When this was all announced, however, Doctor Strange understood and accepted his demotion with dignity, and he even willingly conceded the role when the Vishanti made their decision. This seems to indicate that Strange, at least on some level, accepts Loki as not only his equal when it comes to magic, but he's willing to accept the idea of Loki being superior. If this is even on Strange's mind, then it means that some part of him believes that Loki could be a better sorcerer. And yet, Loki's control over the title was ultimately short-lived. After feuding, they were both confronted with the release of the Void, the dubious alter identity of the Sentry. They were forced to band together even though Strange was largely depowered. And after the conflict, Loki came to realize that the title of Sorcerer Supreme was not the proper fit for him. And Loki finally understood why Strange was worthy of the title after seeing Strange in action. Eventually, Loki conceded the role back to Doctor Strange. He surrendered the Cloak of Levitation, and with it, the magical powers that came with the title of the Sorcerer Supreme. Although this was an elaborate ruse by Loki, and was not a legitimate reassignment from the Vishanti, it does pose the question of who is truly the superior sorcerer. They each acknowledge one another as immensely powerful in their given domain, and they each have considerable feats of strength to their names. But we would like to hear your thoughts on this topic. Who do you think is the more powerful magic wielder? And is Loki actually deserving of the title of the Sorcerer Supreme? Do you think a variant of Loki in the future might ascend to the rank of Sorcerer Supreme in the MCU? And do you think somewhere out there, Loki is holding the title and the responsibilities of the Grand Sorcerer Supreme, Protector of Earth? Thank you as always, my friends, for visiting the channel today. If you've been enjoying our content, consider subscribing, and I hope that you're having an amazing one.